All right, listeners, get ready for today because we are going deep on a transfer saga that is absolutely massive. Viktor Gyokeres, the Swedish striker that is just lighting things up all across Europe, and the very real chance he could end up at Manchester United. We've got a ton of great sources for this one, a mix of sports news articles and even some direct quotes from the folks involved. So get ready for some serious analysis. I mean, seriously, just imagine scoring almost a goal per game. That's Gyökeres this season, 32 goals already, including that just ridiculous 4-goal performance against Azerbaijan. And don't forget his old coach is now managing Manchester United. Could we see a reunion in the cards? By the end of this deep dive, you'll have all the pieces you need to understand what's going on, the players, their motivations, the hard evidence, so you can decide for yourself if this transfer is a sure thing or just a bunch of hype. So first off, let's talk about Gyökeres' goal-scoring ability. I mean, it's not just good, it's off the charts. We already mentioned the 32 goals this season, but we can't forget his time with Amorim at Sporting Lisbon. 66 goals in 68 matches. That's insane. A level of consistency that most strikers can only dream about.
And it's not just the number of goals, it's the variety of ways he scores them. Gyökeres is just incredibly versatile. He can finish with either foot. He's great in the air. His movement off the ball is exceptional. He's a total nightmare for defenders always finding space in the box.
He really is like a phantom, just pops up out of nowhere and puts the ball in the net. No wonder Manchester United is interested. Speaking of Manchester United, let's address the elephant in the room. Ruben Amorim, Gyökeres' former manager at Sporting, is now the head honcho at Old Trafford. That has to be fueling all these transfer rumors, right?
Absolutely. Amorim knows exactly how to get the best out of Gyökeres. They had a great working relationship, and their history together is definitely adding fuel to the fire. But there's a really interesting twist to all of this. There have been reports of a gentleman's agreement between Amorim and Sporting Lisbon, supposedly preventing him from going after any Sporting players during the January transfer window.
So a move in January is off the table. That's kind of a curveball, but does that mean a transfer in the summer is completely out of the question?
Sure. Not necessarily. The agreement doesn't specifically rule out a move in the summer. And let's not forget, Manchester United scouts have been seen at Gyökeres' recent matches with Sweden, where, unsurprisingly, he's continued scoring goals.
So they are definitely keeping a close eye on him. This is starting to feel like a high-stakes poker game where everyone's holding their cards close to the vest, trying to guess what the other will do. But with all the speculation, what does Gyökeres himself have to say about it all?
Well, he's been pretty cool and collected in his statements to the press, emphasizing his commitment to Sporting for the rest of the season, which is a smart move. But he hasn't completely shut down the rumors either. He's mentioned the impact Amorim has had on his career, leaving that door open for a possible reunion down the road.
Sounds like a little wink to the Manchester United fans. Hey, I see you. Let's see what the future holds. But this isn't just about two clubs and a player. There's another huge part of this story, and that's the financial reality of Portuguese football.
Exactly. Jose Fonte, who's played in Portugal for a long time, has been pretty open about the money problems that clubs like Sporting face. They often have to sell their best players to stay afloat. It's about economic survival, even if it means losing a star striker.
So even if Sporting wants to keep Gyökeres on, a huge offer from a team like Manchester United might be impossible to turn down. It just adds a whole new layer to the situation. It's not just ambition or loyalty we're talking about, it's the cold, hard realities of the business. We've got a world-class striker playing at the top of his game, a manager who knows how to get the best out of him, a gentleman's agreement, adding a layer of mystery and intrigue, and the financial pressure of an entire league all wrapped up in this. This is shaping up to be a transfer saga for the ages.
Oh, it's definitely got all the drama of a classic football story.
Okay, we've laid out the foundation, but here's the million-dollar question. What happens if Gyökeres does make the move?
Now, that's where things get very interesting. It would be a massive loss, no doubt about it. Finding a player to replace Gyökeres is a tough task for any club, especially one dealing with the financial issues they have. They'd get a big transfer fee, of course. But finding someone who can score like that is another story entirely. It could take years for them to recover.
And on the flip side, what about Manchester United? How would Gyökeres fit into their squad?
He'd bring a whole new dynamic to their attack. Just imagine him up front with Rashford and Sancho. That would be terrifying for any defense. Gyökeres is a proven goal scorer. He's done it at the highest level. This isn't a fluke or anything. He's consistently delivering, and that's exactly what Manchester United needs if they want to win a title.
That's like the missing piece of the puzzle. But could Gyökeres handle the pressure of playing for a club as big as Manchester United? The Premier League is a different animal.
That's a good point. The Premier League is much more physical and faster paced. But I don't think we should underestimate Gyökeres. He's a strong athletic player. He's not afraid of a challenge, and he's already proven himself in tough situations. His scoring record speaks for itself.
I am curious, though, about Gyökeres' own personal ambitions. He seems pretty happy at Sporting. Would he even want to leave a club where he's doing so well?
Ambition is a powerful thing. The chance to play for Manchester United, compete for trophies, play against the best players in the world. These opportunities don't come along very often. And let's not forget the financial side of things. A move to Manchester United would probably come with a big pay raise.
Yeah, it's that classic dilemma, head versus heart. The logical side says take the money, go to the bigger club and chase glory. But then there's the emotional side, the loyalty you feel to the club that gave you a shot. And then there's the Amorim factor too. Their relationship goes beyond just player and manager. There's a real connection there. That has to be a big factor for Gyökeres.
For sure, Amorim clearly believes in Gyökeres, and that trust can make a world of difference for a player. The chance to play for a manager who gets you and can push you to be your best. It's a tempting proposition. It's like a family reunion except with a Premier League trophy on the line.
But we keep coming back to that gentleman's agreement. It's such a fascinating wrinkle in all of this. Is it a real agreement, or is it just a way to try and drive up the price for Gyökeres?
It's hard to know for sure, but it definitely adds another layer of intrigue. And remember, even if a January move is out of the question, there's still the summer transfer window. A lot can change between now and then.
And speaking of intrigue, we haven't even talked about how the fans feel about all this. Sporting fans must be freaking out, right? They've seen Gyökeres dominate, score goals for fun. Losing him would be a nightmare.
It would be like losing their hometown hero. The fans love him, and why wouldn't they? He's given them so much to cheer about.
It makes you wonder how much pressure Gyökeres is feeling. Does he want to be the guy who breaks the hearts of all the Sporting fans? Or does he put his own ambition first and take the risk?
This is where you see the human side of football really come through. It's not just about contracts and transfer fees. It's about emotions, loyalty, the weight of expectations. It's a high-stakes game with real consequences.
It really makes you think. If you were in Gyökeres' shoes, what would you do? The comfort and familiarity of a club where you're already a star, or the bright lights of a bigger stage, a new challenge, and maybe even bigger rewards?
That's the beauty of this whole saga. There's no easy answer. It's a complicated situation with no clear solution.
It goes beyond football. It's like a microcosm of life. We all face choices like this, weighing our options, trying to find that balance between ambition and loyalty, taking risks versus playing it safe.
And sometimes the hardest choices are the ones with the biggest potential payoff. This is one of those moments where watching someone's career unfold in real time, and it's fascinating to see how it's all going to play out.
So we've talked about the impact on the clubs, the fans, even the philosophical implications of this potential move. But what about the impact on Gyökeres himself?
That's a really interesting question. We know he has the talent to succeed at the highest level, but the Premier League is a unique challenge.
Could he adapt to the physicality, the speed, the pressure of playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world?
That is the big question.
Yeah, that is the big question. It's almost like we've talked about everything but that. We've covered the goals, the ambition, the loyalty, even the economics of it all. But what about the psychological side of this whole thing? How would Gyökeres, the person, handle a change this big?
That's such a great point. And honestly, it's something that often gets overlooked in these transfer stories. It's easy to get caught up in the stats and the formations. But at the end of the day, this is a human being making a huge life decision.
Exactly. He'd be leaving a city where he's a hero, teammates, he's close to a style of play that he excels in. That can't be easy to walk away from no matter how much money you're making.
Nope. And on top of that, the pressure at a club like Manchester United is enormous. You've got constant media scrutiny, sky-high expectations from the fans. Could Gyökeres handle that extra weight on his shoulders?
Makes you think if there's a point where ambition becomes something almost unhealthy. Like, is there a risk of losing yourself chasing bigger and better all the time?
That's the balancing act every athlete at this level has to figure out. How to strive for greatness, but also stay true to yourself in the middle of all the chaos. It's something Gyökeres will need to think long and hard about.
And even from a purely football perspective, how would he fit in tactically? We know he's a beast in Portugal, but would that translate to the Premier League? It's a completely different game, much faster, more physical.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Some people say his hold-up play and passing aren't quite ready for the Premier League. Others think his natural talent and goal-scoring instincts will be enough.
So it's a bit of a gamble for Manchester United, too. They're not guaranteed success, even with a player as good as Gyökeres.
Absolutely, and that adds yet another layer of complexity to this whole situation. It's not just about Gyökeres' decision, it's about how Manchester United sees him fitting into their plans for the future.
So here we are, an amazing talent at a crossroads. Two huge clubs with their own goals and that mysterious gentleman's agreement looming over it all. It's like we're watching a football thriller play out in real life.
And don't forget, this is just the beginning. If Gyökeres does move, it could set off a chain reaction of transfers all across Europe. Other clubs trying to find replacements, players looking to step into the spotlight.
Wow, you're really blowing my mind here. So one transfer could completely change the landscape of European football.
100%. It's like the butterfly effect,
Yeah.
you know? One small change can have massive unintended consequences.
This deep dive has been incredible. We've gone from goals to financial issues, from tactical breakdowns to the emotional impact of a life-altering decision.
And throughout it all, we've seen how this transfer saga reflects these bigger themes. Ambition versus loyalty, the human element of this massive industry, the interconnectedness of the global football world.
So the big question remains, will Viktor Gyökeres be wearing a Manchester United kit next season? We've looked at the evidence, weighed the pros and cons, explored all the possibilities. Now it's up to you to decide. What do you think will happen? And what does this whole story tell us about the beautiful game? Until next time, keep your eyes on the transfer news, because in football, anything can happen.